In this video I'm going to analyse the acceleration technical model for a sprinter. On the slide shown you can see some key points that the athlete must perform when performing the acceleration portion of a sprint. Throughout this video I'll analyse 4 particular athletes from 4 various sports and identify their ability to perform a 10 metre sprint before and after intervention, and quantify this by the times taken to perform. I will break the acceleration aspect of the sprint down as follows. We look at backside mechanics and frontside mechanics. When analysing the athletes, I looked at firstly their backside mechanics and whether or not they could triple extend and if they had a 45-degree torso lean. Secondly, I looked at their frontside mechanics and if the athlete had the ability to swing their foot low to high, maintain a positive shin angle, and if their hand was able to come past their eye level. You can see I've looked firstly here at the basketball player, and here is the analysis of both players side by side. Secondly, I've just looked at the rugby player and his ability to swing that foot low to high, produce a positive shin angle, and for his arm to go up above his eye level. You can see that the athlete was unable, or both athletes were unable to have a low to high leg swing. They were able to produce a positive shin angle, but they weren't able to drive past their eyes. The intervention put in place was our wall acceleration mechanics, firstly shown as a march, and here on this slide is the technical aspects of the march and how to set up for it. Secondly, there will be a one tap procedure, so just a little bit more speed. The following slide will identify the technical aspects needed to produce this mechanics. And finally, once they've produced this against the wall, they must produce it in isolation and sprinting capacity, so just perform that one extension. Same process for our 2 taps onto a wall. Then the athlete will perform these 2 taps again in isolation, just performing the 2 touches to re-ingrain those mechanics. And finally onto a 3 tap situation where the athlete will then perform a 3 tap sprint. The following videos show the athletes performing these acceleration mechanics before the intervention. So this is the first day that I started with them, and this is their capacity to perform the mechanics of a wall march, a 1 tap and a 2 tap and a 3 tap against the wall. The intervention then was for the athletes to go away over the next 4 weeks and keep performing these exercises and to assess the athlete's ability once they have returned. Here we have the basketballer performing the taps. The athlete had a poor ability to dorsiflex, and also he stayed very hunched over in his back. Here is an old video of myself performing the wall marches and the wall taps. In this video I've acted as the rugby player. I have assessed my sprinting over the last year within this video to show my progression as well. Now we'll look at 4 weeks later, so post-intervention. Here are the 4 athletes, firstly the GA player, then the basketballer, rugby player and soccer player, all performing their timed 10 metre sprints. Once we have looked at their 10 metre sprints, we'll look at their ability to perform the acceleration mechanics 4 weeks later. You can see firstly the GA player is far more efficient in his ability to produce these mechanics. Again, looking nextly at the basketball player, who had a poor ability to actually dorsiflex, has a far more awareness of the sprint mechanics, the wall marches. We will look at the athlete now perform his 1 taps, 2 taps and 3 taps. As stated before, it's very important that the athlete maintains a triple flex position through ankle, knee and hip. Their toe is dorsiflexed and about 15 centimeters off the ground, and also the chest remains upwards. Here is myself, the rugby player, performing the wall marches followed by the taps, 2 taps and finally the 3 taps. So now we'll just quickly analyse the athletes post-intervention. Both were able to triple extend and produce a 45-degree torso lean. The first 2 athletes, however, still had a poor ability to swing that foot low to high, but maintained the other 2 aspects. The last 2 players, the rugby player and the soccer player, were able to swing that foot low to high and produce a sufficient height as well as the other 2 aspects. Finally, I've just attached the athletes' week 1 and week 4 sprint times and showing the progressions throughout.